start, we have today with us Pastor Hawkins, who will bless us with prayer.
Good morning, everybody. Let us just kind of take a moment and bow our heads. Father, we just come in the mighty name that is a name above all names. We thank you that we have gathered here today. The word says in Psalm 133, how blessed it is for brethren to come together in unity. We declare today that the spirit of unity will flow from Commissioner Christine King as it flows from her. Let the anointing that is upon her life flow from each one of us today. We decree that as we come in this place, that you, God, as only you can do, put the super on our natural. So we declare supernatural skill, supernatural wisdom, supernatural abilities will rest upon us this day. And it's in your Son's name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you. Commissioner Croyo, would you please honor us with the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. You may be seated.
Madam Chair, if
Yes.
I may respectfully request as the first item of business before we move on into the agenda, if I could have the city attorney read a resolution that is sponsored by the mayor, myself, and I'm sure you and the rest of our commission would want to support regarding the state of Israel.
Absolutely.
We recently have witnessed the most outrageous, inhumane, diabolic attack that is only comparable to what happened in the Holocaust, and maybe even beyond, where a bunch of devils, they're not humans, attacked sleeping women, children, elderly, murdering them in their sleep, beheading the heads of little children and babies, even raping young women, and after they raped them, they beheaded them. And then, like cowards, they took dozens and dozens of civilians, mainly, as hostages so that they could hide behind them and hope that the hand of God would not bring justice to them. The world cannot allow this to go unpunished. Hamas has to be wiped out once and for all in the United States, in every one of our cities, every one of our states, every one of our counties. Has to support Israel, has to support the only democracy that we have in that part of the world. This cannot happen. This is why it is so critical that we look at our borders, because this could be the United States next in different ways, and in more horrific ways than you've even heard and seen as to what's recently happened in Israel. These people are worse than evil. They're the devil themselves, and all they care about is murdering, killing, raping. This is not about going to war with an army, taking on soldiers. This is beyond anything that any civilized group of people, country, state, can allow to happen in today's world. So, having said that, Mr. Manager, I don't know if our own flag outside is at half-mast.
Yeah, I actually, Commissioner, I called Mr. Manager as soon as it happened,
Good.
and we did it. We also sent letters of support to each of the synagogues within our district. We sent a letter of support to the consulate. There's a couple of events that are happening this month, so everything that we can do as a city to be of support,
Yes.
it's really important at this moment, because this is something that could escalate, that already escalated internationally, and, you know, it could get worse, unfortunately.
I'd like to ask two additional things, Mr. Manager. Sure. One is a much more simpler one. If we could put the Israeli flag up front of City Hall at half-mast also. And the most important one, the events that we're seeing, they're only beginning. It's going to get much, much worse. And we don't know how much more is going to expand and how much worse it could get, but it could real quick. So I would respectfully request that you instruct the police department and speak to the police chief so that all the major Jewish sites, from synagogues to others, that we have in our city, that we work out with them as much security as we can provide for their safeguard and the safeguard of our residents. These are all places that soon, across our country, are going to be places that the Hamas terrorists within our country, and if you doubt that they're not here, remember 9/11, they are here. They are here. During 9/11, you had quite a few of them that lived down here, in fact trained down here, and you still have others. So please, if you could request from the police chief to go through the main Jewish institutions, synagogues that we have within our city boundaries, and if he could provide a report of which ones additional security will be provided to, and if you could so inform us which ones they are so that we would know.
Yeah, we have, to that point, we have been working, police has been working on the security of those institutions in conjunction with our other law enforcement agencies. So that's already been in place as of the weekend. I know I'll provide an update to everybody in terms of the specifics of that plan.
The rock shul in Brickell was actually attacked on Saturday, and we did get our commander on it right
Yeah.
away. So
And
thank
then
you.
two other things. We are, I think, still waiting on the flag. Have we gotten the flag yet?
No, not yet.
We were going to try to put it up over the weekend, but we weren't able to get.
Yeah, we couldn't secure one.
Secure one yet, but we're working on that. So we are, as soon as we have one, we'll put it at half-mast. And
We
then,
also have a sign-in sheet in our office because we're going to be doing an event for relief. So if anyone wants to volunteer, they can go to the D2 office and
Wonderful.
and
Wonderful.
sign in.
third item we're going to be working on that also came in as a request was to light the building blue in tribute. We are also in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so we've been lighting the building pink. So we're going to alternate between the two through the balance of October.
That's fine.
To pay tribute to both, to continue our commitment to breast cancer awareness, and then at the end of the month, we'll keep it blue as long as we need it to.
That's appropriate, Mr. Manager. Thank you. Madam City Attorney, could you read the resolution, please?
A resolution of the Miami City Commission expressing its unanimous and unequivocal support of the State of Israel in its war against Hamas and its right to protect and defend its citizens in the wake of Hamas' unprecedented surprise attack on October 6, 2023, resulting in the killing and abduction of hundreds of innocent civilians, directing the city manager to provide a report on the feasibility of the City of Miami purchasing the maximum amount of public bonds from the State of Israel allowed under the current City of Miami investment principles, directing the city clerk to transmit a copy of this resolution to the officials stated herein.
So move.
Second?
We
All in
need-
favor?
Chair,
Aye.
public comment?
Is there anyone who would like to participate in public comment with respect to the resolution that was just read? One. We have one.
Joe, I mean,
Joe is fine.
those words are incredibly powerful. Excuse me, Commissioner Carollo, I'm sorry. As a Jew, living and having been to Israel, having been bar mitzvahed in Israel, having family and friends in Israel, your words are incredibly, incredibly moving. I pray for the safety of everybody in Israel. What these people did was so beyond barbaric. And what you're doing by saying these words and making this statement and hanging the Israeli flag is so meaningful. I want to thank you. I want to thank the Commission, Chairwoman. Thank you, Commissioner Kovo. And it truly is, and I speak on behalf of all Jewish people when I say that from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for these words because they're so important. Words matter. And saying what you've said just now, everybody should hear that because it's the truth. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you all. Thank you so much.
It's an obligation, and it's something that I have stood for many decades. But some of the things I said, I might have misspoken in something, in the sense that maybe I shouldn't have said something, because the woman that I talked about being raped and then being beheaded, I was able to get that from a very close source that has top secret clearance from Israel, and that hasn't been reported yet. I haven't mentioned who it is or anything, but this is one of the victims that you've seen in the cable channels that the family was crying for. And this is what these bastards do. They came in all drugged up. How can you be screaming for Allah, God, and dare do stuff like this? And this is what the world has to see. Now you're going to have all the apologists and all those that hate America and hate Israel and hate everything that's good in this world come out and point the finger to Israel, that they are to blame. That look what they're doing to the Palestinians. Well, it's Hamas in Iran, the head of the snake, that financed all of this, because Hamas would not have made a move without the green light from Iran. They are the ones that are causing this pain on their own people, because they're hiding in buildings where they know civilians are there. They're putting rockets to launch rounds into Israel from buildings where civilians are at. They're hiding in mosques. They're the ones to blame, and that's what those apologists that want to blame Israel in the U.S. secondly, those are the people that they should be blaming. Hamas. This is not Israel. This is not the U.S. These are not any of Israel's allies. It's Hamas, it's Iran, and sadly, whether it's now, a little later on, or at some point in the near future, you're going to see even worse than what you see now, because farther north, in Lebanon and Syria, it's Hezbollah that controls. And they've been trained for years, have many more rockets and missiles, much farther range, precision missiles that Hamas doesn't even have. And that's going to cause a lot of death and pain. But these people need to be eradicated once and for all. And this is why when you have devils like this, you cannot keep trying to appease them, because the only thing that you're going to accomplish is giving them time so they could keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger, so they could try to wipe you out. And, you know, I look back and I apologize to many of my Democrat friends and Republican friends for what I'm going to say here now. But it's Democrats and Republicans equally to blame for the mess that we have in the Middle East and in this world. What am I talking about? It all started with a president that had a great heart. He believed in humanity, Jimmy Carter. And he opened the door for the Ayatollah to come in. As many faults as the Ayatollah had, one fault that he did not have was that he was an enemy of ours. He was an ally of the United States. And once that happened, the minute the Ayatollah and his whole crowd took over Iran, they immediately started training, financing, arming Hezbollah, then Hamas on the border of Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. They're financing the Houthis. And it changed the whole scope of the Middle East and, frankly, the world. And then came another president, this one a Republican, with equally as good intentions as Jimmy Carter, George W. Bush. He didn't learn from his father in the first Gulf War of why his father did not advance anymore into Iraq. And yes, Saddam Hussein was one murdering son of a gun. He was no friend of ours. But if all you had to do was look at history, not far, just modern history, and you would have known that why Father Bush did not advance and take out Saddam Hussein. Well, we did. And what did we accomplish? What did a president with good intentions accomplish? That after thousands of American lives were lost, tens of thousands of our boys wounded and maimed for life, billions of our dollars spent. Who ended up in control of Iraq? It wasn't us. It was Iran. And the mess that Jimmy Carter started ended with what George W. Bush did. So the blame goes to both parties as to what's happened over there. People need to look at history, because if you don't learn from history, history will repeat itself. And we cannot let a Holocaust ever happen again on the Jewish people.
Amen. Madam City Attorney, would you please read your statement in for the record?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there a vote on the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Passes unanimously.
Detailed information about process, order of business, rules of procedure, and scheduling or rescheduling of city commission meetings can be found in Chapter 2, Article 2 of the City Code, a copy of which is available online at www.municode.com. Any person who is a lobbyist pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City Code must register with the city clerk and comply with the related city requirements for lobbyists before appearing before the city commission. A person may not lobby a city official, board member, or staff member until registering. A copy of the code section about lobbyists is available in the city clerk's office or online at www.municode.com. Any person making a presentation, formal request, or petition to the city commission concerning real property must make the disclosures required by the city code in writing. A copy of this code section is available at the office of the city clerk or online at www.municode.com. The City of Miami requires that anyone requesting action by the City Commission must disclose before the hearing any consideration provided or committed to anyone for agreement to support or withhold objection to the requested action pursuant to City Code Section 2-8. Any documents offered to the City Commission that have not been provided 7 days before the meeting as part of the agenda materials will be entered into the record at the City Commission's discretion. In accordance with Section 2-33F and G of the City Code, the agenda and material for each item on the agenda is available during business hours at the City Clerk's office and online 24 hours a day at www.miamigov.com. Any person may be heard by the City Commission through the chair for not more than 2 minutes on any proposition before the City Commission unless modified by the chair. Public comment will begin at approximately 10 a.m. and remain open until public comment is closed by the chair. Members of public wishing to address the body may do so by submitting written comments via the online public comment form. Please visit www.miamigov.com/meeting instructions for detailed instructions on how to provide public comment using the online public comment form. The comments submitted through the comment form have been and will be distributed to elected officials, their staff, and city administration throughout the day so that the elected officials may consider the comments prior to taking any action. Additionally, the online comment form will remain open during the meeting to accept comments and distribute to elected officials, their staff, and city administration up until the chair closes public comment. Public comment may also be provided live at City Hall, located at 3500 Pan American Drive, Miami, Florida, subject to any and all city rules as may be amended. If the proposition is being continued or rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such later date before the City Commission takes action on such proposition. When addressing the City Commission, a member of the public must first state their name, their address, and what item will be spoken about. Any person with a disability requiring assistance, auxiliary aids, and services for this meeting may notify the city clerk. The city has provided different public comment methods to indicate, among other things, the public's support, opposition, or neutrality on items and topics to be discussed at the City Commission meeting in compliance with Section 286.0114 4C Florida statutes. The public has been given the opportunity to provide such public comment during the meeting and within reasonable proximity and time before the meeting. Please note, commissioners have generally been briefed by city staff and the city attorney's office on items on the agenda today. Anyone wishing a verbatim record of the item considered at this meeting may request at the Office of Communications or view it online at www.miamigov.com. PZ items shall proceed according to Section 7.1.4 of the Miami 21 zoning ordinance. Parties for PZ items, including any applicant, appellant, appellee, city staff, and any person recognized by a decision-making body as a qualified intervener, as well as applicants' representatives, and any experts testifying on behalf of the applicant, appellant, or appellee may be physically present at City Hall to be sworn in by oath or affirmation by the city clerk. The members of the City Commission shall disclose any ex parte communications pursuant to Florida Statute 286.0115 and Section 7.1.4.5 of the Miami 21 zoning ordinance. The order of presentation shall be as set forth in Miami 21 and the City Code. Staff will briefly present each item to be heard. The applicant will present its application or request to the City Commission. If the applicant agrees with the staff recommendation, the City Commission may proceed to its deliberation and decision. The applicant may also waive the right to an evidentiary hearing on the record. For appeals, the appellant will present its appeal to the City Commission, followed by the appellee. Staff will be allowed to make any recommendation they may have. Please silence all cell phones and other noise-making devices at this time. This meeting can be viewed live on Miami TV, the city's Facebook page, the city's Twitter page, the city's YouTube channel, and Comcast Channel 77. The broadcast will also have closed captioning. Pursuant to advisory legal opinion AGO 2020-03, issued March 19, 2020, the Florida Attorney General opined that consistent with prior Attorney General opinions, a member of the local government body who is physically unable to attend a meeting because of medical treatment or due to medical reasons could participate and vote in meetings where a quorum of other members were physically present. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. Mr. City Clerk?
Thank you, Chair. The procedures for individuals who are providing testimony to be sworn in for planning and zoning items and any quasi-judicial items on today's City Commission agenda will be as follows. The members of city staff or any other individuals required to be sworn in who are currently present at City Hall will be sworn in by me, the City Clerk, immediately after I finish explaining these procedures. Those individuals who are appearing remotely may be sworn in now or at any time prior to the individual providing testimony for the planning and zoning items and/or quasi-judicial items. Commissioners, are you comfortable with all the notice provisions set forth in these uniform rules and procedures we have established for this meeting?
Yes.
Chair, I'm now going to administer the oath. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you're speaking on any of today's planning and zoning items, may I please have you stand and raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at today's hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And your response is? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Seems as if everybody's going to be speaking at planning and zoning, for planning and zoning. Mr. City Manager, do you have any items that have been withdrawn from this agenda or deferred?
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Madam City Attorney, Mr. City Clerk. At this time, the administration would like to defer and or withdraw the following items. PH 3 to be deferred to December 14th. RE 2 to be deferred to December 14th. SR 4 to be deferred to November 16th. PZ 6 to be deferred to December 14th. And PZ 14 to be deferred to November 16th.
PZ what? I'm sorry. The last PZ item? Mr. City Manager, what was the last PZ item?
14 to be deferred to November 16th. I'm being corrected here by my esteemed planning director here that the PZ 6 is to remain on the agenda.
Okay.
Yes, Madam. From my understanding, the appellant and the COA is here today, and they want to speak on that item.
Okay, Mr. Manager, could you go through the items that you want deferred again,
Sure.
please?
PH 3 to be deferred to December 14th. RE 2 to be deferred to December 14th. SR 4 to be deferred to November 16th. And PZ 14 to be deferred to November 16th.
Mr. Vice Chair, do you have any items you'd like to defer or withdraw?
I do. I'd like to defer PZ 7 to December 14.
That's it?
For now.
Okay. Commissioner Koval, do you have any items?
I would like to please defer PC 10 to December 14th.
PZ 10?
And, yeah, that's it, and co-sponsor PH 1.
Okay, co-sponsor PH 1. Todd, did you get that? Do I have a motion to,
And Chair, just for the record, Commissioner Reyes would like to co-sponsor PZ 12 and sponsor items PZ 15, PZ 16, and FL 2.
got it. Do I have a motion?
Move.
Move.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Do we have any pocket items?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have one more, in addition to the pocket item that we already passed, which I think the clerk labeled as pocket item 1, right? Then we have pocket item 2, which is your pocket. A resolution by the Miami City Commission issuing a noise waiver until 4 a.m. pursuant to Sections 36-4 of the City Code titled Operation of Radios, Phonographs, and Other Sound-Making Devices, Bands, Orchestras Generally Exempt, and 36-5 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida is amended, same hours of operation of jukeboxes, radios, exception for events on city-owned property, relaxation, and extension of alcohol sales through 4 a.m. pursuant to Section 4-B of the City Code titled Hours during which sales allowed, permits for the 3 Points Music Festival to be held at Manna Wynwood 2217 Northwest 5th Avenue, Miami, Florida, also known as 318 Northwest 23rd Street, from October 20th through October 21st, 2023, as a co-sponsored city event. Thank you.
Are there any other pocket items?
This is your district, correct? Commissioner
Correct,
King?
yes. At this time, I will open the floor for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on any items on this agenda, please come to the lectern.
Good morning. My name is Luis Herrera, President of Vizcaya Rogones Association, and I live in 1181 Southwest 22nd Terrace. I'll be talking in PC3. Years back, when in Miami 21, they put it in, they promised to the neighborhoods too many things. And I find out everything be changed. And by surprise, they get construction in the neighborhood. Now we are adapting and proposals with a new plan to protect the neighborhood. And I want to be in black and white, inform to any association that live around in District 3, put the information, the recommendation we give you, and we asking for be there in black and white, so no be like a promise before, like in Miami 21, and then I surprised few weeks ago that everything be changed, not by the promise they make in Miami 21. And this is a surprise for the neighborhood, and we want to live life, quality life for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Alex Uribe with office at 2800 Ponce de Leon Boulevard, here on behalf of O'Malley Holdings, and my comment is just relating to PZ2. I'm the attorney for the applicant, and we just want to clarify for the record on how this is to be approved. We have 2 rezoning districts requested here. However, we are agreeing that we are not going to proceed with the T50 to T680 rezoning that was applied for, and it is only going to affect the T30 to T4L. So when this gets approved, we just want to make sure that that's noted, that it's approved only the T30 to T4L and not the T50 to T680. Thank you very
Was
much.
PZ what?
PZ2.
PZ2.
And for the record, would it also include the covenant?
Correct. There's a covenant that's been proffered, and that would be part of the record as well. Thank you very much.
Have we seen the covenant?
Yes, madam. We have seen it, and it is part of the legislative file.
Okay, can I have a copy of it?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Luis Morales, and I live at 1143 Southwest 22nd Terrace. And I would like to speak about this in item PC3. A few weeks ago, I was invited to a meeting with a group of the city of Miami that was proposing changes to the zoning, Miami 21. They have several people writing our input. We have a lot of problem with what they were presenting because it was affecting our quality of life. They were trying to allow to construct a building next to a single-family home. And after the meeting was finished, I said, well, anyways, in the worst scenario, we are protected by Miami 21 because that was one of the main issues when Miami 21 was created to protect the residential neighborhoods. But yesterday, I find out that somebody, we don't know when or why, changed that protection existing in Miami 21 for the residential neighborhoods, and now we have no protection at all. So I asked the commission to please find out what happened with that and to please keep the protection for the residential neighborhoods and don't allow a building to be construct a building next to a single-family home. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. Good morning, Commissioner Carollo. Good morning, Commissioner Covo. Nelson Stabil with offices at 150 Southeast 2nd Avenue. I'm the president of the Builders Association of South Florida, and I'm here in front of you today to speak in support of the PZ items 07 through 11, which constitutes the waiver reform. Not only do we support the item, but I wanted to take this opportunity to commend the staff for working very closely with the private sector in understanding the implications that such package and amendment would have on the construction and the development industry in the city of Miami. So just a great job done by both planning and zoning that are here with us today, and just wanted to speak in support of that item. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Steve Warnick, 2501 Swanson Avenue, here on PZ3 to speak in support. These are the evaluation and appraisal report amendments to the city's comprehensive plan. One, this is a state-mandated process every 7 years that each municipality has to go through, and so this is something that is mandated by the state to plan for the future growth of the city. The planning department has done an incredible job of outreach with public meetings in every district. There were presentations in this building in conjunction with the Planning Zoning Appeals Board, workshops even before they formally considered the items. It gave everyone an opportunity to understand what's going on. This is a planning initiative, and three, and I think most impressive to me, that this is really integrating transportation and land use policy for the first time in Miami-Dade County in a way that's forward-thinking. We talk a lot about our transportation not being there with improvements to the commuter rail, to the Metro Mover. We're now planning around those stations in an important way. So thank you, Commissioners, for your support on this item.
Thank you. Morning.
Good morning, Chairwoman and Commissioners. Diego Ojeda, President of Ralea Group, located at 1200 Brickell Avenue, Suite 1200. I am an owner in Wynwood. We are developing close to 450 units and bringing 40,000 square feet of retail to the neighborhood. I'm here also in representation of the Wynwood bid, and we want to support PZ3 because of the train and the Metro Mover coming to Wynwood. Transit does not work without density. So we endorsed this at the last Wynwood bid meeting, so PZ3. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hello. Yes, my name is Luis Rubira. I live in District 3, near the train station of Vizcaya. I come to support PZ3 too. Even though I live there, I think it's Vizcaya train station is the only station that is in the middle of a single home residential neighborhood, which is completely unaffordable for Miami. They need to develop ridership, and this is preventing that. So I think also density in the area is going to improve affordability, and I support that, especially for a community that I think also Miami 21 follows the steps of urbanists like Jane Jacobs, trying to improve walkability, mixed developments, and things like that. So I think it's going to improve the city. It goes along with the urbanization, the plan of all the gardens and parks that are doing below the trains. I think it's improving the city, making it grow affordably and sustainably. And so I support what is PC3.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Brenda Barancor, 1436 Southwest 6th Street. First of all, I just want to thank all of you for the support of keeping our block safe. Thank you to the chief, the police. They're giving rounds and making a big difference. A simple police officer to maybe stop by 5 minutes, drive around. 50% decrease of the activity that we have seen. So I want to, the same way that I came and asked you for help, I want to thank you. I want publicly say that it is working. And the chief and the police officer that come, thank you so much. We entire block has seen the difference. So thank you for your support.
We listen. Thank you for showing
Thank
up.
you.
Because we listen.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I want support of FR1. As a member of the co-enforcement board, we've seen this too often. Sometimes there are houses that they are being built 1900s, 1920s, where the setback was not there. So full support for that area in our neighborhood, that they have houses that they're not, can just knock out the house to comply with the setbacks. I understand new construction, but setbacks that they've been there is on support, full support for FR1. And at the same time, I just want you guys to think about something that happened yesterday. An owner who has snake leaves in his front yard is considered that is not landscaping decoration and being asked to be removed. We do have them all around the city of Miami. It's not destructive. It's not garbage. That's what the person chooses to have in front of the house. And when we as a city force a person to not just remove what they have and force them just to do something that is, we do it and see it in Coconut Grove and in different areas, I think it's not fair that the other areas are not holding the same standards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I asked IT to please place Commissioner Reyes on but he's listening, he can
Right,
hear.
I know, he's listening. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for
Yes.
this opportunity.
Good morning. I'm listening, and I'm sorry for being late, but I'm listening to everything that's going on.
Buenos días, Commissioner Reyes.
Buenos días, mi querida amiga. How you doing? How's
Todo bien.
everybody doing there?
Todo bien.
Okay, I miss you guys. I'll be with you very shortly.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Continue.
Thank you very much. First of all, I have to say that although I'm not Jewish, I was touched by Vice Chairman Joe Carollo's word in respects to the Jewish people. And I just feel I have to echo his sentiments, and he is absolutely correct. And I feel we should all support Israel in this endeavor. And I read someone in social media say that they hope Israel has mercy with Gaza. And I just have one thing to say. Where was the mercy with those babies in Israel, with those women set on fire, raped? So they set the level of mercy, and now they better be ready for the level of mercy that they set. And I, for one, am in complete support with Commissioner Joe Carollo's words. Thank you, Commissioner.
Madam Chair.
But I'm here. I'm here because 2 weeks ago I came in front of this commission, and there was an incident in front of my house, and I looked at Commissioner Joe Carollo's face, and I asked him for help. and I'm here to thank him publicly for everything I know he has done and pushed, just as everyone on this commission I know have done to help control that situation, and it is working. I want to say thank you to Commissioner Carollo, thank you to Commissioner Reyes, thank you to Commissioner King, thank you to Commissioner Cobo for all your help. I also want to recognize our city manager. I know he has been very involved in that situation. Our police chief, our two commanders in the police in the city of Miami, they have also been very attentive, and you should all be recognized, and I thank you very much for all the help that you have given us.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner?
Yes, thank you for giving me the opportunity now. I want also state my well, I wasn't able to vote on the item on Israel brought by Commissioner Carollo and the mayor, but I want to let everybody know my full support to that pocket item, and that's what I wanted to make sure that Todd, you reflect that I am in full support of that item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Saraí Pacheco, 3061 Northwest 18th Street, and I have with me two people that are going to donate their minutes, and I was asked for them to say their names.
No, we only have one person can donate their time, not two. So one person can give you time.
All right.
What? Wait, Todd?
So just briefly, a speaker may receive the donation of speaking time from no more than 2 members of the public for a total speaking time of 5 minutes, unless extended for a maximum of 7 minutes by a supermajority of the city commission members present. So right now, she could just receive a maximum of 5 unless
So
the
the
commission.
2 of them can, and you'll have 5.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I want to start thanking all the commissioners and city personnel for FR1, item 14809 on the agenda. Just like the panelist says, this is a very needed in this community. It took me years, since 2019, trying to resolve an issue of my house, and I find out there are many properties like this, and many residents that get tired, they're not so persistent like me, and they sell the house, and they end up with no money to do anything, pretty much. So I want to thank everybody that worked very hard on this item, everybody that drafted, from Diaz de la Portilla, who started it, from Manolo Reyes, who took over, from all of you guys that are here listening to it, and everybody pretty much in the city that listened to me at some point, that I bugged for years, asking for a solution. So I'm very thankful for that. I also want to ask you guys to please consider reviewing the microfilm records. It have come to my attention that many records were damaged during Hurricane Andrew, other ones were because of the time. And it's okay to admit it. It's nothing is going to happen if we tell what we don't have, but we need to find a solution to this problem, because we cannot continue blaming residents and saying we have all the permits when we don't in the city, and that it was illegally permitted because the permits are not there. And whatever we don't have it, but let's just find a solution to those properties that are old and that are being there and that are in good condition. If it's in bad condition, let's just demolish it or whatever the solution is. But if they're in good condition, we need to find a solution. This is not going to be the first city that had this problem. And changes sometimes are kind of worms, are a Pandora box, and it might be difficult to face it, but sometimes they're needed. And at this time, I really think that we need a good revision to those microfilms to determine what we have, what we don't have, what we can do for the one that we don't have, and do some kind of amnesty for those people. There are many old people that don't know English, that don't know the process, that started like me, and that don't have the time. I have to quit my job to come here pretty much every single day. So it is important that we take care of all those people too. But I wanted to thank you all for making this possible and to finally do the first step for something, for change.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Good morning.
Good morning. How y'all doing? I'm against PZ3.
Your name?
Hello?
Your name?
My name is Dayon Bostic. I'm against PZ3, the building of all the high rises around the area. What they're doing is they're building too many buildings, and there's not enough jobs to go around, you know? So, and they're also destroying a lot of historical houses and everything like that. And then the small people, they don't allow the small people, the city, to be able to operate business, but they let the big business do it. They jump you through a whole bunch of hoops that you don't need to do, that's not necessary, that's not even hurting anyone. And it's ridiculous. And maybe about 10 years, this place is gonna be just like Detroit. You're gonna destroy the whole city. I see it happening. A lot of things are getting ready to, take place. They don't see it, because they see money, but you see money, but there's not a lot of jobs because they don't allow smaller people to be able to operate. And if anybody knows anything about economics, 80% are small businesses and, other things like that. Big corporations and the city cannot supply everybody with work. So, yeah, I'm against that, and leave it. Y'all finish what y'all finish, and then leave it just like that, so people will be able to work and live. Because y'all got all these people, but nobody's not working in the stores. There's no work, because everything is a high rise. They got Amazon right next to me. I'm at address 100 Northeast 23rd Street. They just moved that, and somebody told me they building a high rise right there. I said that doesn't make sense for them to build a high rise right there, because when you go in the morning to the job,
Madam Chair.
who's going to do coffee?
Right.
Who's going to serve you this, serve that? So I guess PZ3 is the high rises, right? Correct? Which one is it?
It's PZ3.
For the high rises?
For the high rises.
It's
and
a combination of things.
It's a combination
Right,
of
it's
things.
not
So
just-
to put it on the record, I asked Lakeisha, she's going to give a presentation. The river area, because it's super controversial and people have come to my office, and the west side of Edgewater,
Yes.
okay, we're not going to include them in that plan, so you know. And Lakeisha will make the presentation. We pulled it out. We're going to
Okay.
review it again. It's not going to
Yeah. Y'all have to review it, because that is
So I
weird.
was going to say when we went to the PC items, but since you already mentioned it, it's not going to be included in this plan.
Okay.
If it passes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I hope it don't.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Estimada Cristina King, estimado Joe Carollo, veo que no está, y demás miembros de la comisión, mi nombre es Gumercindo Pacheco, 795 Northwest 32 Court.
Good morning. My name is Gumercindo Pacheco, 795 Northwest 32nd Court.
Estoy aquí con el deseo expreso de apoyar una ordenanza que beneficie cientos de casas de nuestra ciudad.
Okay, I'm here to support an ordinance that will help hundreds of houses in our city.
Lo hago por una simple razón.
I'm doing it for a reason.
Una casa es la inversión más grande que tiene una familia en los Estados Unidos.
Our home
Sobre
is the
todo
biggest
una
investment that we
familia
have
pobre.
in the that our families have in the United States.
Esas casas fueron construidas antes del 2002, en los años 40 y 50, muchas de ellas.
Okay, those homes were built in the 40s and 50s.
Han tenido varios dueños
They have had several homeowners,
y cuyos planos que debían ser protegidos por la ciudad, muchos de ellos se perdieron por las inundaciones
okay,
del ciclón Andrew.
Okay. During Hurricane Andrew, many of the home plans and records were lost due to the floods.
Y los dueños actuales de esas propiedades, que no fueron quienes las construyeron, heredaron esa situación y tampoco poseen los planos.
Okay, so now the current homeowners do not possess those plans, and now they're suffering the consequences.
Una casa no solo es la inversión más grande de una familia, sino es el llamado sueño americano.
Okay, it is the American dream to own your own house.
Thank you.
Yo apoyo
The time is up.
Yo apoyo una ordenanza para salvarle el sueño americano de muchas personas. Es una cosa tan simple como esta. Una cosa hecha por ustedes, que son pocos, puede beneficiar a muchas personas.
Okay.
¿Por qué no hacerlo?
Okay, I want to support the American dream by saving our homes.
Thank you. Gracias.
Ya. Sí, lo traduje, pero en resumen.
Una cosa hecha por ustedes, que son
Thank
pocos,
you.
puede
Thank you.
salvar a mucha gente.
You can also help save a big community.
Thank you.
Mariana? Mariana López. No, no lo tengo.
Buenos días
Buenos
Good
días.
morning.
a todos. No voy a nombrar nombres, a todos.
Good morning to everyone.
Mi nombre es Efraín Reverón,
My name is Efraín Rendón
Reverón,
Reverón,
12750 Southwest, 18
12750
Street, 331.
Southwest 18th
75.
Street. ¿Cuál?
33175.
33175.
Simplemente mi presencia se debe a que vengo a apoyar
I'm coming here.
una nueva ordenanza
I'm coming here to support a new ordinance
que salve cientos de casas construidas
to save hundreds of homes
bajo un código anterior del siglo pasado incluso.
that were built under old regulations, under the in last century coding.
Y no es justo
It's not fair
que tanto sueño americano
that all of our American dreams
lo mate una nueva pesadilla.
can be done
Gracias.
with a new nightmare. Thank you.
Gracias. Is there anyone else?
Mariana López. Usted diga su nombre y yo ya tengo todo escrito aquí, ¿ok? Diga su nombre y su dirección.
Buenos días,
Good
mi
morning.
nombre es Moraima López.
Moraima López.
Vivo en el 3061 Northwest 18 Street,
3061.
Miami, Florida 33135. 125.
3061 Northwest 18th Street, 33125. Yeah, y ahora sí. I'm going to read her statement. I am here today to support Sareli Pacheco. Sareli has been searching for her home building records all over the city public offices. She has gone to all the scheduled appointments to get her home issues solved. No records have been found. We please ask you to assist us by updating, creating regulations or codes so that families do not have to deal with violations that were mandated over 10 years before their homes were purchased, as in Sareli's case. Please reconsider microfilm revisions in order to update the information on the home damages and structures along with the dates of the incidents. We therefore request an exoneration program so that the affected residents do not have to unfairly pay dues that do not apply to them, or even worse, have their properties demolished. Please empathize with residents who are carrying this burden and suffering the loss of their homes by being forced to sell their properties, especially because of the lack of money for remodeling. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak? Come on. Excuse me, ma'am. She'd like to speak.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Good morning, City Commissioners. My name is Christine Michaels, 90 Southwest 3rd Street. I received one of those little papers in the mail from the Planning, Zoning, and Appeals Board. And I presented this at the PZAB meeting. It's very confusing. It's very hard to understand. It's a foreign language to us average folks. And I walked over to the city admin building, met with the planning department, and they explained what was happening. Now, I live in the riverfront community where thankfully you listened, where they want to move a boundary to allow for more density. I'm born and raised here in Florida and lived in downtown in Brickell since 2000. I've owned a few condos. And I love downtown in Brickell, but what I have seen in this explosion of construction, that there is no infrastructure to support all these condo buildings. And I want to thank you, Ms. Covo, for listening and others for withdrawing that part of the plan to move that boundary that will allow more density, because in downtown in Brickell, there is no infrastructure. We can't add more public transportation. We can't build subways. There is no solution. And so I've actually worked for developers, actually 2 developers. And we believe in smart planning, in smart development, smart planning, but it doesn't exist in Miami. And one important thing I want to add, when I went to the planning department and trying to get a handle on this and do some research, I said, how many buildings existed in 1980s? Do you see how much we've grown? Do you know that record does not exist? No one could tell me how many buildings existed in 1981, 1982, 1983, yet we keep on building and no one has a record of any of this. One organization sent me a picture. Well, maybe you can start counting some of these buildings. So it seems like it's out of control. I've come to all the PZAB meetings, and those who voted against were very clear. This plan, the comprehensive plan, I'm winding down, benefits developers, not the residents. Residents have spoken. Please vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Rocio Fleite, 11001 Southwest 42nd Terrace, Miami, Florida.
My apologies, Chair. Can you get closer to the microphone?
Rocio Fleite, 11001 Southwest 42 Terra, Miami, Florida 33165. 110 01 Southwest 42nd Terrace, Miami, Florida 33165. Okay. Good morning. I'm here to support Sarely Pacheco. I do not support her home demolition. It's her only home, her only residence. It's very unfair that due to a flood, her home records are lost. And now she's facing code violations as many other residents are. We ask that you please create a new city code to assist all the homeowners going through the same situation. They deserve to live peacefully in their homes. Unfortunately, their homes already had code violations when purchased without them being aware of the violations. We ask that you support the 2002 ordinance for homes being built before that date due to the loss of permits. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Mi nombre es Gisela Martín.
¿Y la dirección? La dirección.
11001.
11001.
42 Terra.
42nd, Southwest 42nd Terrace, 33165. Okay. Gisela Matos, good morning. I'm here to support Sarely Pacheco. We do not support her home demolition. As a resident, I am requesting that the city create a new code so that homeowners get their help and support they need in order to keep their homes facing demolition. Sarely's home records can't be found due to a past hurricane flooding. A new code must be created to assist people like Sarali, especially if the home is their primary residence. An amnesty program could help these residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenos días.
Good morning.
Soy Raquel Mesa, ciudadana estadounidense.
Raquel Mesa, U.S. citizen.
Vivo en 222 Phoenicia Avenue.
222 Phoenicia
apartamento
Avenue,
2,
apartment 2.
Coral Gables, Florida 33134.
Coral Gables, Florida 33134.
Señores, estoy aquí para pedirles que por favor que apoyen la ordenanza de no destruir las casas.
Okay. I am here to ask you to support the ordinance not to demolish homes
Que no están legalizadas y fueron construidas antes del 2002
the homes that were not legalized and built before 2002.
y que muchas cientos no tienen el récord porque se destruyeron cuando el ciclón
That many
Andrew.
of them do not have records due to the loss of the documents in Hurricane Andrew.
Y otras por otras razones, pero por favor, hace falta legalizarla. Muchas gracias.
Please, and for other reasons, these matters need to be legalized. Thank you.
Thank you. Ace? Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I would just like to say for the
Good morning.
record, as the official custodian of microfilm records for the city of Miami, that to the best of my knowledge and that of of my staff, we do not have, any records missing, as it has been claimed. Also, it's not the policy of the city of Miami. Also, it is not the policy of the City of Miami Building Department to demolish this house. It is only to enforce the code. So just want to put that on the record.
Where is this house?
Pacheco's house. And she knows that we have been more than available throughout this entire ordeal. We have facilitated, at least that I have been present to, I want to say at least more than 30 meetings. So, so I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Seeing none, public comment period is now closed. If I may have a motion to approve the minutes from City Commission Special Meeting June 12, June 14, and July 13.
Move it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion for CA 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. We have PH1. I believe this needs to be amended on the floor
Please.
for PH1.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, yes, go.
Todd, I am the sponsor of that, right?
Yes, you are also a sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
You are co-sponsor of it?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I think staff is going to make the
Amendment?
the amendment, yes. That's what I understood, that it's going to be increased to 500. Okay?
So could you spell out the amendments, please, for the record?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. Roberto Tasoy, Housing and Community Development.
Good morning.
There's three amendments that we're proposing. Number one is the increase of the qualified income from 40% AMI to 50% AMI.
Okay.
Number two is the increase of the amount of the maximum assistance from $100 a month to $500 a month. And number three is to ensure that people meet the 30% So they're not cost burden. What we wanted to do is to include payments towards rent above the 30% of the participants' income.
Okay. Will you also be removing the bank statement requirements?
Certainly, that's another recommendation, that if we want to move the program.
I think that would be burdensome.
Yes, ma'am. I
to-
agree
to
with you.
To have the seniors submit their bank statements.
And some of them don't even have a bank account.
That is correct. We do have some issues trying to gather bank statement information for some of our clients.
Yes.
Some don't even have a bank.
I don't want to burden our seniors because this relief is so necessary. And the priorities that you have in place?
We currently have a wait list with those priorities. We definitely would, suggest if we can remove those priorities, it will be easier for other people or the seniors that don't fit within those priorities to be able to qualify for the program.
So can we also make an amendment to remove those priorities? And that gives everyone a fair opportunity, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I support that, Madam Chair, in your amendments.
And then there's the issue about the administrative fees. Mr. Manager, does each commissioner need to manage this project to make sure it?
Larry Spring, Chief Financial Officer, Madam Chair. What we're asking is, as we continue to administer more and more programming, our staffing is limited. So what we're asking in this particular case, if you will give us a 10% administrative allowance to move forward the administration of the program. To the extent we don't need that much money, those dollars will be put back to assist more seniors in the program.
What I'm most concerned about is I don't want this program to lag. So if my team needs to administrate it in District 5, I'm glad to do it.
Okay. No, I think we can
Give me
handle
the
it.
administrative fees.
All right.
But I don't want the program, we're passing it today, I don't want 3 months from now
Not to
that
have
money's not on the street because it's very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so we have PH1 as amended. May I have a motion for PH1?
Move.
Second.
PH2, PH4?
We have an
Page 4
proposed.
has
I'm
Good
sorry,
morning.
what happened?
Lillian Blandet, Office of Grants Administration. Just for the record, we introduced and gave to the city clerk the backup documentation for PH4.
Okay,
Okay?
It doesn't amend the legislation, it's simply backup documents being submitted into the record.
all right, so.
Apparently, it does, my understanding is it does amend the legislation because there was something, can you just mention what changes here? Because apparently it's a change in the program of such.
No, I think it was that there was a change at last minute and it just missed the deadline. So it was just the backup documentation. I don't know exactly what the change was.
Okay.
Okay.
Not on the program, it was.
So for the PH1, PH2, PH4, as amended,
No, I believe just PH1 is amended.
right, that's the one I'm talking
That's
about.
amended.
That's the one, but I want to make sure it's on the record that PH1 as amended and the rest.
That's right.
I have a motion,
Moves.
second, all in
Second.
favor?
Hold on.
Aye.
PH3 was a part of it? Or not? I didn't hear it.
No, that was
no,
deferred, Commissioner.
That's deferred?
That's deferred.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's take up our pocket items now. Before we go any further, may I have a motion for pocket item 2?
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And we are now on our resolutions. May I have a motion for RE 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 as amended?
Chair, RE1 is a mitigation, needs to be.
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's
RE1
fine.
is a mitigation.
It's
So,
in the D3.
so may I have RE 3, 4, 5, and RE 6 as amended? May I have a motion?
Move.
Second.
I think
Hold on a
RE3
second.
through 6 are just as is.
Hold on
No.
a second. Could you,
It's just as
wait a minute, please? I am. I'm looking in RE6, and I want to amend RE6 where the Miami River Holiday Boat Parade, that has $250,000 that will be, I mean, since it's not going to take place, that those funds will be transferred to Winter Wonderland.
Do I have a motion to accept that amendment?
All I heard was Winter Wonderland.
He wants to
That sounds good.
take away from the boat, from the, say it again, Commissioner Reyes?
From the river.
Yes, there is an item, the first item in FO6. It is Miami River Holiday Boat Parade, $250,000. Since that is not going to take place, the boat parade is not going to take place, I would like to transfer that to Winter Wonderland, which is, it will take place and it is celebrate Christmas all over.
Well, I'd like that to
What happened to the boat parade?
be deferred to see what's going to finally happen with that.
Is Winter Wonderland, Madam Chair, it's
Oh.
happening in your district, right?
It's
Yes,
happening in
it's-
several of our districts.
Yeah.
It's
Mostly in my district. What I'm saying is, what I'm thinking,
wait,
I'm thinking,
we
Can
can't.
I
we
provide
need
an
to-
update on the boat parade? So
We need to
Sure.
pass, we need to pass RE6 as it is because it wasn't clear on the record when we passed it before that it was, that we stated as amended. So we need to pass this item as it is, and then we can come back and do something else to it if necessary.
Madam Chair, if I may, Mr. Spring agreed with it. He said that it could be done.
Larry Spring, Chief Financial Officer, through the chair. As long as we're not changing the total amount of the budget appropriation, we're okay. However, in some of my briefings, I have stated it would be my preference if we just pass the item as it is, because this is clarifying the appropriation that you guys did at the budget hearing, as it was.
That's really the way it should be.
Yeah,
Larry.
right. And
This is,
then,
you
we
can't-
can, amend,
So that means that we
You-
can
you
change
can
the line
amend
items.
later.
Later.
Amend later if need be,
Right.
but what I.
That would be my preference.
What I want to make sure that we all understand,
Right.
this is.
Okay,
serious.
We can bring
I
it-
do
We
understand
can bring
the
an
confusion.
amendment back at the next meeting if you like.
Well, look, if we're going to have a grab pack that I don't think. we
No,
should,
that's why I didn't want it that
And-
way.
You know, there's many things that I could bring up, that others could bring up.
I
Now,
have a few.
There's one particular, yeah, of course. There's one particular issue that, first of all, what I think we should do with that, if it's not going to end up being used, then we should put it aside either for the following year, when it definitely should go through, or we use those fundings together with some others that were passed, requested of the administration, for mentors and tutors for urban city kids. We've been talking to the manager on establishing a program. This is something that Chairman King has championed. Commissioner Coble has talked about, she got here, where we
Listen.
could have mentors and tutors spending X amount of hours a week with our urban city kids in making sure that every child, whether in elementary, whether in junior high, and then finally we enter high school, that needs help, that we can provide a mentor tutor for them. And, that's the best way that I would look at that money to be spent. All of us put our requests down that were approved for our different projects. Just because maybe we think now that there might be some money left over, you know, we all would like to grab more money and spend it, but we also have to, you know, try to put a limit to things. It's not,
Okay,
you know, an ending.
Madam Chair, if I may, Commissioner Carollo, I mean, I think that if that is a great idea, and we can get all the festival funds and use it in those programs that you are just naming, and I believe that they are very good programs. One thing that I want to know, I want you guys to know, is that you cannot blame a person, I mean, a commission for trying to increase.
I'm not a commissioner.
But let's do one thing. Hold on a second. Let's do one thing. You see, in order to avoid all this discussion and all of that, let's pass it the way it is, and then later on, if we see fit that should amend, some of those funds could go to certain districts or to certain projects, then we'd do it. But those funds, if they're not going to be used, I think that it should be used. Okay. But now I forget about what I proposed, my amendment, and let's vote on it. Okay.
So do I have a motion for RE 3, 4, 5, and 6?
Move it.
I second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Motion
again,
carries.
just for clarification, as is, for
As
all
is.
items.
As is.
Yes, it is.
And now we can take up RE1, the mitigation.
Okay,
Is someone here for RE1?
RE1.
They're coming. Director?
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Robert Santos Alborna, Co-Compliance Director. RE1 is a mitigation of, it's a mitigation of 2 properties and 3 cases. The property addresses are 1901 West Flagler Street, 1917 West Flagler Street. The violations in questions are for certificate of use, operating without a certificate of use and business tax receipt, work performed without permits, and unpermitted signs. The violations ran for some time, approximately a little bit more than 8 years, 3,056 days for 2 of them, and the other one, 280 days. So CU BTR accrued a total of $764,000. The construction work without permits also accrued for 3,056 days, a total of $764,000, and the unpermitted signs accrued to $70,000. Collectively, the fines accrued to $1.598 million. The respondent is offering $11,250. I'm going to yield to Legal Division Chief Rachel Dooley. She's going to talk about some of the challenges they had with legal probate issues, and she's going to elaborate on that.
Good morning.
Good morning. Rachel Dooley on behalf of the Office of the City Attorney. Yes, in this case, they did file a lawsuit to quiet title for this, and I know counsel will be able to explain it to you, and they are here for mitigation. As has been explained, the property was the original owner, the gentleman to the left, that was his father, had run the property very well until he became incapacitated in 2013, which you can see is one of those first violations. He had a guardianship at that point, which then sadly turned into a probated estate that lasted for 6 to 7 years. It was another 6 or 7 years between the guardianship and the probate.
Daniel Tamargo on behalf of the
Yeah.
property owners. And so the guardianship process was around 3 years, 2013 to 2016. 2017, he passed away, and the probate was around 2 years. So between the guardianship process and the probate, it was like around 5 years.
During that time, the guardian for the owner, and who then became the executor, also began to, while taking care of her father, was suffering from cancer, which eventually took her life. She was not dealing with the building issues. And so the son, when he took over after that, after the estate was finished, was able to then move and start to bring everything into violation. But I think it's
into compliance.
Yes, sorry, into compliance, which they did in 2022, and so they're here. But you do see a very large number on 2 of those, and 2 of them are 2013 and 2014. and that is right at the beginning of when the owner became incapacitated and had a guardian who did not take care of the properties, and the family members, obviously the son had no legal ability to step in her shoes as she was appointed by the court. And I don't know what else they would like to
Go
add.
ahead.
Yeah, so we just like to reiterate what Ms. Dooley has stated. I would like to state that the prior property owner was 91 at the time this happened. So 91 is when the first violation started, passed away at 95. As she stated, his older sister was the executor and the guardian. She during that time suffered from cancer, which eventually spread to her brain. So that also caused why, delays in the probate and why she wasn't really taking care of the property. Finally, the properties were deeded to the inheritors through an LLC, which they're the owners now. And the minute they got the properties, they started doing the recertification, they started fixing the roof, and through that process, they realized these violations were there, immediately complied with them, and then now are looking to try to mitigate some of these.
Mr. Vice Chair, it's your district.
Rachel, how big?
Mr. Vice Chair?
Yes. How large of a property is this in square feet, in land, and in building square feet?
The square footage?
Yeah.
That one, I usually don't write that one down. I can give you the valuations, but I don't usually, just give me one moment, I will tell you.
Just what I'm looking at in Market Valley from the property appraiser, it's between both, it's over $3 million, which means that they're worth a lot more than $3 million. Actually, it's closer to almost 3.2 million in appraiser.
The 1917 West Flagler property is 8,650 square feet.
Of land or building?
The adjusted area is 1,200 square feet. So the lot size is
Hold on, this is 17 or?
1917 West Flagler is, lot size is 8,650 square feet.
8,000?
650 square feet.
650.
And the adjusted area that is occupied with a structure is 1,200 square feet.
Okay. How about the other one?
And 1901 is a lot size of 17,300 square feet. And these are all single stories, by the way, they're not multiple stories. And the adjusted area is 9,503 square feet.
9,303?
503.
503.
Yes, sir. It does show a living area of 10,000, not the actual area of 10,414 square feet. I believe there's an overhang. They're retail outlets.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. The
Yes.
first violation is for CUs and BTRs.
Yes, so
Were
in
these on some of the business that were there?
Yes, so what happened was once they had the 2013 work without a permit, which was a tenant issue, then they could not get a CU and a BTR, and so one of the tenants couldn't get that when they came in. So that violation stayed open, obviously, because you can't get a certificate of use or a BTR when you have another violation open.
Right. The
And
work
then-
without a permit was from tenants or from them?
It was tenants. Yes, it was tenants. And in fact, when he took over, they did their recertification for their 40 years, and the entire building is in full compliance. So they have their current recertification as well as no open building violations. And that was done I think they finished that one in 2022 or 2021.
2022.
With the recertification. And they did that timely. And then in 2016 case, that was the $70,000 lien case. That was a tenant sign, which then was removed in 2017.
So basically what you're telling me that all these violations were from tenants.
Yes,
It's not that the owner didn't pull CU or BTR. It's not that he himself were doing work to different parts of the building
correct.
without permits. It was tenants in their lease properties that got caught. Therefore, the whole property gets cited.
Yes,
And then the unpermitted sign was another tenant.
yes.
I got characters in my district that they're real wise guys. They keep putting up signs with alcohol hidden here, there, but still visible. Other not allowed stuff, and they keep laughing at us, not like these people that end up here. They'll run it for months just before they have to come to code. That's when they take the sign down. And then we don't do anything. Hopefully, we could come up with something right away. If we can't get people at code immediately to do that, that are constant violators, because, you know, they're laughing in our faces.
So, Commissioner, on those instances that we're playing cat and mouse games with the signage and whatnot, if the violation remains after the compliance due date on the NOV, I'll bring them to adjudication, and so that next time around, they're addressed as repeat offenders.
Yeah, but Robert, if they got a painted sign that you know they're being paid for by somebody, because otherwise they would not be advertising alcohol, beer, or
Right.
anything else that they're not supposed to advertise. How much of a time do we give them to paint them over and take it down?
So we go by code, and I provide them 30 days.
30 days.
Yes, sir. And if they go beyond the 31st date, I will bring them to adjudication, because,
Yeah, but how long are you going to take to bring it to adjudication? Is that going to be another 2 months before you put them down?
and
And that's the point that I'm making. You got to bring it to the head of the line,
I
whoever it is,
I
to the head
understand.
of the line, and immediately, you know, bring it to code.
I understand, and that's a
Otherwise-
challenge right now, Commissioner, because I have a bottleneck. The board, we finished here last night very late, and I have more than 1,000 cases in queue to come to hearings, and we go as
Yeah,
as
but
fast as we can.
I think this commission has been very vocal in stating that when you have habitual offenders.
Yes,
Those take priority over many of our poor residents that don't know the language, are elderly, that don't understand the process, and it's the only time they've made a mistake.
Yep.
So
Agreed.
this is the kind of stuff that needs to
Right.
take priority. Otherwise, you know, I don't know, I'm just tired of seeing many of our most needy residents, our poor residents, are the ones that get smacked, and the wise guys that keep playing the game. But, you know, Mr. Manager, I hope you're listening, because I'm speaking through you, my feelings. You know, we need to do something so that this game doesn't keep going on. You just heard the code enforcement director. He gives him 30 days, he's going to act. Then when I ask the second question, well, you know, might be 2-3 months, who knows? And that has to be changed immediately. If they're habitual offenders, I don't care how many of our poor residents you have in line, these people need to be put then, you know, in front of the line and be heard in the very next meeting so that the game stops. You know, would that require a resolution from this commission, Madam City Attorney, or?
Maybe an ordinance change, but we can double check in a moment and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Look, I am one that you know, we've been trying to at least come with 10%, at least. Depends on what it is.
Right.
We've hit some much higher. And while I truly would like to keep that same pattern, everything I'm hearing here is that it wasn't the owner that died that caused these problems with the CU, PTRs, it was tenants. It wasn't the owner that caused the problems of work without a permit, it was tenants. It wasn't the owner that died that caused the problems of unpermitted signs, it was tenants. And this is all going through probate.
Right.
When it was happening, for years, you're telling me, whoever the guy that was in charge of the property at the time, apparently this is not a priority for him. And, you know, it's, you know, if I was in the son's shoes, I certainly would, you know, feel the same way he does today.
And those are huge mitigating circumstances with all the medical issues that they had to deal with, but a process is a process. We ultimately hold the property owner responsible.
I understand that, and we have no choice but to do that. What are you all recommending on this one?
So I'm going to yield to legal, but I would recommend right now the offer is less than 1%. I would request at least 2%. So somewhere in the vicinity of, let's see, it's 11,250, which is less than 1%. So I would humbly request at least 2%.
Okay, Rachel, you have any other feelings on it?
No, I think we leave it up to the body in this circumstance. It is an unusual circumstance before you. It's not one that we have very often when you can look at a genesis of what happened that but for, you know, obviously incapacitation, the issues most likely, as it would appear from the history of the building, would have been taken care of. And so.
I hear you.
But I do agree that, you know, the offer is basically $3,750 for each case, which still is very, very low. I don't know that that's appropriate. But also it's $1.5 million is the total lien, which also, if you even looked at 10%, is a massive amount. I mean, not that the properties aren't worth a lot, but.
Well, the
It is what it
properties,
is.
according to the property appraiser, they're appraised at about 3.2 million, which means they're probably, in today's market, worth at least 5 million. If I may ask, Counselor, what are they planning on doing with this property?
My client maybe will speak on that.
Sorry? What are you planning on doing with this property now? ¿Qué es lo que está planeando hacer con esta propiedad ahora?
Trying to keep it. That's a family business.
As it is, como
Yes,
está?
as it is. That's what we have. That's
You're
what
not,
we
you're not looking
inherited
to.
from my dad.
You're not looking to have us have mercy on you and then go and sell it.
Well, unless I get more sick than I am right now, because nobody else will be doing that. I am the one that is taking care of the business. If I get sick, we will have to get rid of the property. But right now, I keep in mind keeping the property.
Okay, well, Commissioner Reyes, you're the one that's sick among us. How does he look to you? Does he look like he's going to get sick?
Listen, don't get sick, okay?
Does he look like he's going to get
Hey,
sick of us anytime soon?
Believe it or not, I am a cancer survivor. I'm still working. My sister
good
passed
for you.
away. We both had kidney cancer. She passed away because the cancer spread to the brain, but I'm still here, working.
Okay, good for you. Good for you.
Madam City Attorney.
Thank God.
Can I pass a resolution in the following way? I heard the code enforcement director ask for 2%. I'm going to up it to 3%, where it's still going to be under $50,000. However, can we include something in it that if this property is sold within 2 years,
Within how long?
within 2 years,
Okay.
that it will then go back to the 10% that has been our flat fee.
Fair.
Okay.
Can we do it in that fashion?
Yes, we would just have to record this, because if
Yeah,
not,
we
we would
do
have to
record it.
record this order
Yeah.
for any subsequent.
Yeah, we
buyer.
do. We record the orders. Because they release, once they pay, it releases the liens, but we'll record it.
Do I have a motion?
That there's some, well, let them speak if they'd like to, before we vote. ¿Quiere que se lo explique en español lo que dije?
Prefiero oírlo de sus palabras.
Sí.
Please.
Lo que hemos propuesto, el director de código propuso 2%. Yo no creo que hemos ido tan bajo en ninguna otra ocasión, en nada. Y esto es un negocio que es no residencial, es un negocio comercial. Yo he propuesto 3%, que va a ser un poquito menos de 50,000, más o menos por ahí. Pero si lo vende el negocio en 2 años, entonces va a subir a 10%, o sea que nos tienen que dar, cuando se venda, 7% más.
Just for the record, what the commissioner said is what he
Yeah.
had proposed
Yeah, I-
earlier. He
yeah.
just explained
I
it
just,
as
I
as our
translated.
translator for the day, that it would be 3% now. If it's sold within 2 years, then it would be 10%. We would record that.
Another 7%. Yeah.
Do I have a choice?
Well, I don't know. The city attorney, your attorney could explain that to you. I don't want to play attorney.
Let me explain my idea. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. But, for example, I will tell you something. We already finished September 2022, the certification, 40, 50 years of both properties. Now, 2023, because of the new ordinance of the city, I have to do again the process of certification.
Again?
Again. Again.
What is it that you have
That's
to-
related to state statute. It's not the city. It's the Florida legislature updated their rules and regulations, so they have moved the timeline from every 10 years, then it's going to become every 5 years. It's, just to explain it, it's the Florida Building Code and the state legislature requires
But it's
it.
a new ordinance.
Well, it's a new state law. We have to enforce it, yeah. But you should be fine. It should be the engineer will go out there and check it off. You should be okay.
But I have to pay for everything.
Yeah.
Again.
Thank you,
I have to
Rachel.
pay for everything again. In less than a year.
Unfortunately, that's life down here in the tropics.
I understand you. I understand the commission. I understand everyone.
Look, I'm trying to be very fair and reasonable, understanding what happened with your father. Your hands were tied during all those years. I understand all that, but, you know, we still had expenses from our side that
I know.
we have to cover. And like I said, you're coming off much better than anything else that I can recall so far. And I'm only taking that position because of what's been explained to me, that this is not the fault of you or your siblings. Your father died. The probate guy that took years, he didn't care about this. And all the violations were not made by your father or family. They were made by tenants there. And during that time that it was in probate, you couldn't act if the probate officer wasn't doing anything. So that's why I'm taking it into consideration. But I also want to make sure that, you know, when you walk out of here and you save yourself a lot of money, that you don't have a buyer around the corner that's going to buy it from you, and, you know, I'll feel a little silly then.
Okay.
So 2 years that we're putting down, I think is a fair amount of time. That if you don't sell it within that time, then that's fine. But if you sell it within 2 years, then we go with the 10% flat that we like to impose.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
The motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
As
Thank you.
amended.
As amended. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carollo, you had asked a question about bringing items quicker to Code Enforcement Board when...
Habitual offenders.
Okay, so
Habitual.
if we do have under 2-814D of our city code that if a code inspector has reason to believe that a violation presents a serious threat to public health, safety, and welfare, or if the violation is irreparable and irreversible in nature, the code inspector shall make reasonable effort to notify the violator and immediately notify the board. So we do have that provision. It's not directed, though, to repeat violators. It depends on the violation. So we would have to do a code change
Okay, can
to
you bring,
have it
can you
as
bring
specific.
that back? In the meantime, Mr. Manager, you're hearing more or less what the will of this body is.
I'd like to be a sponsor of that because we have repeat violators in District 5, and the process is so long, and it leaves the community with these buildings that are abandoned. No one's taking care of them. There's graffiti, there's break-ins, it's unsafe. So I'd like to co-sponsor.
No, I mean, we saw one last night that was particularly troubling.
Right.
And so I wholeheartedly concur. So we'll work on some legislation with law and get it back to Commission ASAP.
And what
Thank you.
bothers me the
Madam
most
Chair?
is- hold on, Commissioner.
Sure,
I'll give you the
sure.
floor in a minute, I was speaking.
Yeah.
What bothers me the most is that, most of the people that are sent to code enforcement, they're good residents, hardworking people. They're petrified when they get a notice from us, when all this stuff is put in. They don't know what to do. They don't have enough time to be able to do it. No one's there to help them and explain to them. And these are the people that are getting slammed, brought to code right away. But then we got habitual offenders. Not a huge amount, but enough of them throughout all of our districts that know how to play the game, and they play it. And then just before they're going to be sent to code enforcement is when, they go ahead and do what they're supposed to have done a long time before, so that it gets thrown out and they have no fines, nothing. And I'm tired of seeing that throughout our city, in my own district, of people that are laughing at us. And we have to change our ways of doing things. Otherwise, we're just encouraging individuals like that to keep doing it.
So Commissioner, very briefly, I hear you loud and clear. I am telling you that we treat commercial properties very differently than residential, and specifically homesteaded. Now, when we receive a complaint, we have a duty to follow up. And so, but I am telling you that repeat violators, life safety violations go to the front of the line, recurring violations, those that play games, right? But oftentimes, on commercial properties, we treat very differently than residentials, particularly homesteaded, and especially in mitigation.
And you should, and you should.
And we will continue to do that. So, okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam
Well, I
Chair,
have-
if I may,
Commissioner Reyes.
you see, the problem is citywide. It is not only in your district or in any other district, citywide. And we have in the neighborhoods, we're having a huge problem with owners, most of them absentee owners, that they divide their houses into 7, 8, 9 rooms, and they rent it. And in some instances, they are even moving people in that are terrorizing the rest of the residents. I spoke with Mr. Santos, and I am requesting that please, we have to, and not only Mr. Santos, with the city attorney, the police, and everybody, that we have to be very, very aggressive with those people that they are using their homes, single-family homes, and dividing them like they were motels, and they are decreasing the value, property value, and besides that, they are infringing on the quality of life of the residents that have been there forever. You see, we have to be very aggressive with them. I have cases that I have given to Mr. Santos, and then I have heard they had been notified, that they have been cited, but the problem continues and continues and continues. Some of those homes, they are owned by LLCs, you see. We have to do something about that because we have to protect our residents.
So Commissioner Reyes, yesterday...
I'm sorry, Robert, just really quick. Commissioner Reyes, Commissioner Carollo, Chair King, since you wanted legislation, I have good news. I missed the Section C above, which already has this provision. If a violation is found to have been repeated by a violator pursuant to 162.045, or who admitted to violating the same provision within the past 5 years prior to the violation, the code inspector shall notify the violator, and the violation must be immediately cured. The code inspector, upon notifying the violator of the repeated violation, shall notify the code enforcement board or special magistrate by requesting an immediate hearing. So we have it. What we will do is use this as a directive to the manager and the director to expedite this section.
And we have already established in this commission that a repeated violator is not necessarily in the same property. It's
correct.
Who owns different properties in different corporate names, LLCs names, et cetera.
Within a 5-year period.
5-year period,
Yes, sir.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
To Commissioner Reyes, just briefly, Madam Chair. So yesterday you did talk about all these excessive, illegally subdivided properties, LLCs, Airbnbs, et cetera. So this year alone, within the Flagami district, I ran a report. I'm going to forward it to the manager, to you, via the manager. 10 properties were adjudicated within the Flagami district alone, and we are increasing the patrols. And one of the indicators you reflected is all these excessive vehicles that are parked in unimproved surfaces in the grass. So we are proceeding aggressively with the recurring violations moving to the front, and with repeat violators, absolutely, unequivocally to the next available hearing.
And I've been getting help from Morningside as well, so thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you. I want to bring up one off topic for my colleagues. Do you guys use this? Every commission meeting, Todd prints this and all of this stuff, and I don't use it. If he could just email it to us, but if you guys find it helpful, because I feel like it's wasteful.
I agree, Madam Chair.
I
do agree.
I'm okay because I use
Right, do you
a
use
remarkable.
this?
Do I use what?
All of the papers that Todd prints for you. He prints us the calendar every single commission meeting. I have the calendar. That's a waste of paper. He prints this, which he gives us an email for, but
Yeah, for that, it's okay, but you got to remember
this,
that I am an old dinosaur.
right?
You know,
So do you want,
I need it in front of me.
but not this. You don't need this.
You know, not the young man, you know, in the TV here, he might not, but, you know, I need it in front of me.
So-
This stuff I don't.
Okay, this stuff you
I
don't
don't,
need.
no.
This stuff you don't. Okay, so Todd, from the commission, we don't need this printed every single commission meeting because we don't look at it. We don't use it, and it ends up getting discarded. And it's a waste of paper. You email it to us as well, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I think the email is sufficient.
Just as long as I can still have my papers around me.
It's just fine. It's fine.
Thank you,
But,
Commissioners.
let's not be wasteful.
Understood.
Commissioner, I don't know, you look pretty good. I was worried about you, that you were sick, but you look pretty good. Less wrinkles.
Well, I'm still
you're
on the
bright in the
treatment.
face. I don't know. I might have to get sick like that.
Don't you think that I'm not there because I don't want to be there?
I know
I
you
miss
do.
all of you guys. I
Well,
wish
we
I'll
miss
be
you
there.
here.
We do.
miss you
We
here,
certainly
and
do.
We hope
Yes.
you get better soon.
Madam City Attorney,
Thank you very much.
would you
Thank you
please
very much.
read the titles into the record for our first reading items?
May I do the second reading first, or?
Oh my gosh, yes, okay. You know,
Yes, second
I was
reading.
out late last night doing
It
the
was
city's work.
past your
It
bedtime.
was very
past your
much past my bedtime. Second reading, please.
Okay, so SR1, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 62, Article 2 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended titled Planning and Zoning Comprehensive Planning to create a no net loss policy. Further amending Chapter 62 of the City Code titled Planning and Zoning, creating a new Article 19, titled Procedures for No Net Loss Policy for Parkland to establish land development regulations that implement policy PR 2.11 of the Miami Comprehensive Neighborhood Plan, creating standards for replacement and conversion of parkland to other uses, containing a severability clause, and providing for an immediate effective date. I know that Todd is going to read an amendment for this. And just as a point of personal privilege, if Barnaby Min is watching, he's just making fun of me right now for messing with my Roman numerals, because he always said that I'm bad at the Roman numerals.
Can I ask a question? I didn't take my smart pill today. I know the answer to it, I think, but I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. When we talk about the no net loss and parkland and so on, that doesn't include when Commissioner Cobo or King or Reyes or I want to put playgrounds in parks or outdoor exercise equipment in parks or soccer fields in parks for our kids or pickleball courts or anything like that, correct? That's not what you want, Commissioner Reyes, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But
that's not
if
part
they
of
are
it.
in parks, they are in the parks.
Yeah.
And if they are within the park, we are not losing any park area. What is a shame that this was, and it wasn't enforced when we gave up. But what I want is to be very strict that if any parkland is going to be used for any other purpose but parks, that not net loss, and the city of Miami should get some, the same amount of land that is losing from the persons that are utilizing our parks
So we're both.
for development.
We're both in the same page, and this ordinance is okay for what we want and stated here, correct?
Commissioner
Yes,
Carrillo,
yes, sir.
that's correct. Lakeisha Hall for the record. This legislation helps us to better enforce our policy on no net loss. So whenever there's a rezoning, we're going to use this legislation to be able to support the rezoning of that to a CS parkland space, sir.
And Commissioner, it doesn't include the rooftops, right?
No
That's
rooftops.
correct. No rooftop will be considered part of this legislation, so that would not be
That's right.
eligible. That's correct.
Roof is roof.
You are absolutely right, Commissioner.
Did you finish reading all the titles? Okay, continue with our titles, please.
SR2, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 2, Section 2-207 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, is amended titled Administration Department, Planning, Building, and Zoning Department, Zoning Certificate of Use Required, Annual Inspection of Buildings and Premises, Fees for Inspections and Issuance of Certificates, more particularly by removing the requirement for duplicative certificates of use for co-working or virtual office spacings containing a severability clause and providing for an immediate effective date. SR3, an ordinance of the Miami City Commission rescinding Resolution Number 3367 adopted January 31, 1927, naming the public park located at South Miami Avenue and 15th Road as Simpson Park, and replacing in lieu thereof with an ordinance naming the parcels of land consisting of approximately 363,141 square feet located at 85 and 55 Southwest 17 Road, Miami, Florida, folio 0141901100010 and 0143905900020 respectively, and more contiguous parcels that may be added in the future as Simpson Rockland Hammock Preserve Park, amending Chapter 38, Article 1 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Parks and Recreation General by creating Section 38-35, titled Naming of Simpson Rockland Hammock Preserve Park, further directing the city manager to take any and all actions necessary to effectuate the naming of the park, containing a severability clause, and providing for an immediate effective date. SR. That's it.
Do you have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Motion.
And the amendment that Todd was going to read?
Yes, there's a minor amendment to SR1, Section 62-703, inventory of converted parkland. The first part of the sentence simply needs to reflect city manager or designee, and the last part of the sentence needs to reflect Department of Planning and Department of Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
Move it as amended.
I got a question on SR2. Will this new ordinance passed here now in the second reading, says it'll carve out co-working and virtual office spaces. What is co-working in
Mr. Goldberg,
how we're translating it?
one moment.
What's a co-working space?
Yeah.
I thought we already had co-working spaces.
We do. Good morning, Daniel Goldberg, zoning administrator. Co-working office spaces are like your WeWork, where you rent a chair or a desk versus a real bona fide office space.
No, still office space.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, now, this is not commercial space. If you're selling art and you got different people selling jewelry, art, coffee, candy, doesn't include this.
No, that would be a general commercial use. This is only for those office spaces that are those co-working type spaces like Regis or WeWork or things like
Okay,
that.
all right, that is fine. I'm trying to,
And the virtual, just because he also said virtual, is it like home or this is in the commercial
It's
section?
another term for the same thing. That's virtual or co-working office space is the same thing.
Yeah, it's within the WeWork or
Yes.
and
any
now
other brand.
my other question is, presently then, if I would own a business that I've broken it up into 15 different little cubicles or areas where I brought in 15 other tenants. I have the general CU, BTR, but all these other businesses that I brought in to sell art, to sell coffee, to sell, all kinds of hand-made stuff that people make, called art. Those people are not affected by this. They still have to get their CU and BTR, correct?
Correct.
This ordinance does not
BTR.
affect that. That would be a general commercial type
Good
use, like a
question.
retail use. In that case, each of those individual tenants, we'll call them tenants or operators, would need to at least have their own BTR. I'm not sure if we give them individual CUs. I think the CU for the space usually suffices. However, in our code.
But at least, the BTR is what I mean. At
Right,
least they
for
have to
BT,
have
yes,
their
they would
own
need their own
BTR.
BTR. Yes, sir. Just for the record, there is still a requirement in the code, and will remain after this ordinance if adopted. There's still a requirement that if you have a bona fide sublease of an office space, the sublessee must get their own CU. This only exempts the virtual or co-working spaces where you're simply in a
Okay,
rental
well,
agreement for a chair or a desk.
Can you, well, let me ask you another question. The girls that trying to put it in a politically correct way, the young ladies that work in clubs and, you know, do little dances or hang around poles. Do they have to get their individual BTRs, or can they just get one general one?
I would have to defer to the department that issues the BTR, which is code compliance. I believe they need their own, but I'm not sure, because the Office of Zoning does not issue BTRs.
Excuse me?
The Office of Zoning does not issue BTRs. I'd have to defer to code compliance for that one.
Yeah, but before you told me that for the art and jewelry and coffee and candy, you needed a BTR.
My understanding is that when you have an individual tenant at a kiosk in a shopping center or some sort of use like that, my understanding is that each individual must have to have their own BTR. I believe that's the case for the dancers as you're discussing, but
So
But
Commissioner will,
who makes the final decision? You, code, or, you know, depending on who it is and how important they are?
it's for
Or how
BTRs.
well they dance?
For BTRs, it is code.
For BTR is code.
Yes, sir.
in the,
What-
Commissioner, in that particular question, but we'll double check, in the past, it's been more like a company, like a dance company, a ballet company.
The
Uh,
dancers
one.
are employees.
Right.
Madam, I'm not talking about a dance company.
She
I'm not-
knows that. She knows that. Thank you, Mr. Goldberg.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hope you heard my questions and you heard Mr. Goldberg's answer.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. SR 123 passes unanimously
With SR 1 amendment.
with amended, yes. What time is it? It's 11:58. I believe we have an Omni CRA meeting?
Yeah, Madam Chair, so if we are breaking for lunch, I would respectfully ask you that we take it now, please?
What is the will of the body? Do you
'Cause
want,
I
would you
see
want to break
members-
now? It's 11:58. Do you want to break at 12:30 and take the CRA meeting at
No,
12:30? or you
I'd
want-
rather break now
Now
and
do
take
the
this
CRA
and then
meeting?
come back for whatever else we have.
Okay, so
Me too.
at this time, we are going to recess the regular City of Miami Commission meeting for October 12, 2023. We are going to start our Omni CRA meeting, and then after the Omni CRA meeting, we will take a lunch break until what time, colleagues? 3?
3, fine.
3 o'clock.
You decide, whatever you want.
3 o'clock. We'll resume at
3 o'clock
3
will
o'clock.
be.
And if you could just give us about 60 seconds, just need to flip the tape.
Go ahead.
We don't have any, the other CRA meeting? Okay, well, you remember the executive director? We had a little talk with him. Remember, Commissioner? The next
Yes, sir.
time we have the other CRA meeting, you and I had a little talk with the executive director, what he needs to bring.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, sir, but I don't, I don't think that he is complying with our request.
No, yeah. This is not looking
Commissioner,
good right now.
Is there any way that we can punish or have some consequences will affect this gentleman for not following the directive of two commissioners?
Maybe. I'm having a hard time hearing you with all the noise here, though.
Okay, well, think about it. Maybe we should find a way that we can punish him.
Yep, I agree.
Yes, sir.